I had sentences, syntax slash grammar, and the two sentences I chose were the river here was bordered with clumps of wrinkled rock that seemed to grow out of the ground like fungus. And she wanted to call out to Poppy to tell her to stand still, not to be afraid. She would come to her soon, and the students would fill out the little graphic organizer. They would put in the sentences, fill out the who slash what is slash was doing, the whom slash what, and then the where and when, if there is either.
Okay, so I have the background knowledge. So the first thing that we'll do, so I basically just have a 2-minute video and then an anticipation guide. I will show the video, hopefully.
All-powerful sun. It brings us light, warmth, and without it, there wouldn't be much life on our planet. But have you ever actually wondered what would happen to life on Earth if the sun suddenly burned out? Let's find out on today's episode of Colossal Question. The sun is a star in the center of our solar system that all the planets orbit around. It's because of the sun that life on Earth exists in the first place. Experts have determined that the Earth's distance from the sun is just the right distance for humans to survive. If Earth was a little closer, we'd all be burnt to a crisp. But if it was a wee bit further away, we would all freeze to death. Or, in other words, almost all living things on Earth rely on the sun for survival. So that leaves us with a pretty big burning question to answer. What would happen if the sun suddenly burned out? Well, for starters, it would take over 8 minutes before we'd even notice here on Earth. That's because the sun is so far away that it takes light over 8 minutes to get from the sun to your eyes. But once those last magical minutes passed, it would be absolute, complete darkness. And that goes for the moon, too. You see, moonlight is just sunlight reflecting on the moon. So even if the sun burned out at night, you'd still see the moon suddenly disappear into darkness. We rely on the sun not just for its light, but its warmth, too. So if the sun burned out, things wouldn't just get dark, they'd start getting really, really cold. Within a week, temperatures around the globe would drop to below freezing, kind of like the coldest winter day every single day. Within a year, Earth would drop to over 100 degrees below freezing, which is so cold that no human could survive on the planet's surface. The temperature would keep dropping and dropping and dropping over hundreds and thousands of years until it settled around negative 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So, next time the sun seems annoying on a sweltering summer day, just remember, it could be a lot worse. And now you know what Earth would be like.
Okay. So after watching that video, how do you think we would survive if we didn't have the sun?
It would be really cold. I mean, probably not the easiest.
Yeah. What do you think, Marshall?
No, yeah, we wouldn't survive. There'd be no plant life or vegetation for oxygen. And yeah, it'd be really cold like an ice age. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of starting to get us ready for reading our book called The City of Ember, because since they don't have the sun where they are, it kind of helps us think about how they could survive. Something else to help us get started with thinking about the City of Ember is I have an anticipation guide for us to complete, and then Kaylee, I will put it in the chat. That way you can access it too. I have a printed copy for Marshall, and then you can just do yours digitally.
Isn't it in the lesson plan?
Oh, yeah, it's in the lesson plan too. That would also work.
I'll just does everyone get a copy of it or should I make a copy?
Probably be easier if you made a copy, then I don't need to go back through and delete
Yeah.
your responses. So all of these different responses are throughout the book that just kind of help us start to think about the book before we read it. And then as we're reading, your responses for this will likely change, and that is perfectly normal. So you can fill out whether or not you agree or disagree right now. And then when you're done with all of the statements, let me know.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
And then in a typical classroom, I would just have you guys hand these in, and then I would hand them back to you when you're done. Also at this point in the lesson, I would just start reading the book with the kids, just to kind of end out the lesson. But since Kaylee, you've already read the book, and well, Marshall doesn't really need to, that's where my lesson would just end. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably would be the easiest than making a whole nother document.
Yeah.
So for sentence 1, the river here was bordered with clumps of wrinkled rock that seemed to grow out of the ground like fungus. Who/what is the thing or person?
The river.
And what is it doing? Or what was it doing?
Let's see. It's bordering rocks and it's growing.
Doesn't really have a where or a when. So I don't think you have to
No, not
answer
really.
that one. And then a whom or a what, I think would just be the other half of the sentence. So like the clump wrinkle rocks would be at the front. And then the ground like fungus would be at the whom/what.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then our second sentence was she wanted to call out to Poppy to tell her to stand still, not to be afraid. She would come to her soon. Who/what?
She, and I'm completely blanking on the main character's name right now, but it would be the main character.
Lena, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And is/was doing.
Calling out to Poppy.
Yeah. Whom/what?
Poppy.
And then,
Yeah, I don't think there's a where on this one either.
or a when,
Well, the when would be soon.
right? Okay. Would the what be to stand still? The whom slash what be to stand still?
Well, it would be both the Poppy and standstill.
Okay.
Like, yeah,
So call out was doing,
yeah,
and then whom would be. Poppy. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, because then the to stand still is modifying, calling out.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want to add your